Hey, you looking good. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cereal Snob. Today I'm introducing a new series that was inspired by a lot of things, a lot of people, but most recently, my brother-in-law, who's French and only came to the US like maybe 13 years ago or something. He said he's really influenced by the cereal that I'm posting about all the time, but since he only eats cereal every so often and he only likes one or two, he doesn't even know where to start when it comes to getting a new cereal. So I told him I thought about this idea where I want to talk about a cereal people know and love a lot and then recommend cereals based off of that. So with that idea in mind, today we are talking about Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Because let's face it, this is probably one of the most popular cereals, not just in the US, but even globally. And I think if you're familiar with this, I have a handful of recommendations that I would love to share with you that I think you are just going to love. Okay, let's get started.
Welcome to Cereal Snob.
Give me some of that.
Actually, you know what? Before we get started, just talking about the things I recommend, maybe it would be best if I describe why I think we all love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is an amazing cereal for a whole lot of reasons, but I think one of the best is just how cinnamon and sweet it absolutely is. It's got that cinnamon swirl on every single bite. And then the milk at the end is just to die for. And lots of you probably know, if you're eating bowl after bowl, at the end when you're drinking the milk, not only does it taste like cinnamon, but you have those like little cinnamon sugary crystals at the end, which as a kid especially really was, I just felt like I hit the jackpot every time. But it's not just that. You have the shape of the pieces themselves, which they're square or square-like. They just provide a really great texture and eating experience. Now, whether you know this or not, Cinnamon Toast Crunch has a wheat and rice base for the actual pieces themselves. So the flavor that provides, I think, is complemented very well by the cinnamon sugar, but I think it lets the cinnamon sugar shine in a way that lots of other cereals don't. And now that we know why we like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, now let's talk about why I recommend this first cereal, Cheerios Oat Crunch Cinnamon. As you might have guessed, the real reason why I'm recommending this as far as a connection to Cinnamon Toast Crunch is cinnamon. And actually lots of the things I'm recommending today have cinnamon as the base level, but there's a lot of things that make Cheerios Oat Crunch Cinnamon different that I think you're really going to love. First off, you have the Cheerios base, which lots of you are familiar with, but whether you know this or not, this is a multi-grain Cheerio base made with 5 whole grains, 5 different types. So not only do you get corn, you get wheat, you get millet, you get rice, and because of that, and actually you get the oats too. And because of all those different types of grain, you get a really awesome just crunch experience where not every O is the same density or size. So when you're crunching, it's just like you're eating lots of different textures, which I think if you like cereal, you probably like crunch, and it is called Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right? Well, the crunch here is phenomenal. And then with the oats sprinkled on top of the O's, not only is this a great crunch, but also it's just so hearty. I mean, it says actually on the back that it is hearty, and it means it. I mean, here you can eat, let's say, you know, a couple of bowls and feel very satisfied. I think it's one of the best cereals for that reason. And then Cinnamon Toast Crunch, conversely, I could eat 5 million bowls of Cinnamon Toast Crunch before I'm ready to stop. But this stuff is just so good. It's one of the few cereals I've given a 5 out of 5. I think it's absolutely perfect. And if you haven't tried out Cheerios Oat Crunch, you have to. It's just amazing. Next on the list is one of my cinnamon favorites, and that is Cinnamon Frosted Flakes. Again, the connective tissue here is really the cinnamon. But I think what's so great about Cinnamon Frosted Flakes is from the moment you open that bag, the smell you get from the cereal is like awesome, delicious, buttery, baked cinnamon goods that you will absolutely love. Now, personally, I'm not actually too big a fan of Frosted Flakes in general. I think as a kid, I really liked them, but as I grew up, I just was like, well, that's just sweet corn. No big deal. But they threw cinnamon on these things. I loved it so dang much. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think the corn and the cinnamon go really well together. And much like the Cinnamon Toast Crunch pieces where you can get just a whole lot on one spoon, you can also do that here with the Frosted Flakes and just get a huge spoonful, and I promise you, you'll absolutely love it. Cinnamon Frosted Flakes, another one that gets a perfect 5 out of 5 for me. You'll absolutely love it. Go ahead and give this one a try. Now my third recommendation today is the newcomer to the cinnamon game, that is Cinnamon Cheerios. Do you notice how similar these boxes look? They're like cousins. This is a much more basic version of the Cheerios Oat Crunch, and I think between the two, I would choose Cheerios Oat Crunch, but not everyone wants that cereal, so that's why I think Cinnamon Cheerios are something worth recommending, because I swear, the exact same cinnamon sugar coating that is on Cinnamon Toast Crunch is exactly what they used here in Cheerios. And because it's just the typical Cheerio, oat-based Cheerio, these are like the perfect texture to eat right from the get-go. There's no glaze on these like you'll find on Honey Nut Cheerios, so there's nothing like making them denser than they would be otherwise. These are just naked Cheerios with cinnamon sugar on every bite, and it is fan-freaking-tastic. Like I said, the texture is perfect from literally the second you pour your milk. Like you pour your milk, you take your first bite, and you're like, wow, this is cinnamon sugar in every way I like it, and it's very much backed up by a new oat base, which you're just not used to with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Plus, the texture is just perfect to munch on over and over, and like all the cereals I've mentioned so far, it has amazing milk at the end that I promise you, you are going to love. Now, my fourth cereal recommendation has gotten me into a little bit of trouble with some people because I have said that it might even be better than Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And I think at the very least, it is just as good as Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but personally, I think it's better. But I think you'll think it's at least just as good, and that is the Honey Made Cinnamon. This is just hitting store shelves now, and it tastes everything you know and love about Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but it removes that base and replaces it with a more graham type base, much more like Golden Grahams, and it works wonderfully. It's the same exact texture that you would find, I think, from Golden Grahams, but with cinnamon sugar on every single bite. It is just to die for. You'll absolutely love it, I promise. But because it's so new, you might have a hard time finding it right now, but that's just right now. Within the next couple months, you'll see it everywhere. And I encourage you, try this cereal. Like, out of all the ones I'm recommending today, this is the most like Cinnamon Toast Crunch without actually being Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And because it's the most like, I think it might throw some people for a loop. You're like, what, I just want Cinnamon Toast Crunch. But if you're like me and you didn't have Cinnamon Toast Crunch on a regular basis when you were younger, this just, I think, provides a whole different flavor profile because of the cereal base itself being more wheat and corn based than wheat and rice based. I think somehow it just gives you more to taste and more to love. And who doesn't love more to love? Okay. My fifth recommendation is, of course, I already mentioned it actually, it was Golden Grahams. Now, I mentioned Golden Grahams because the texture is so similar to Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but also because this cereal has extreme mixing potential. If you're not one of the people that mixes their cereals, I don't blame you. When I started this channel, I basically was against that. I didn't want to do it. People said they do it, and I was like, no, not for me. But as I go on and I have literally just so many cereals available around my house, I find that mixing cereals can be a really fun treat sometimes, and like it's a fun food experiment. And if you're willing to do that, Golden Grahams mixes so perfectly because it has a sweet honey graham flavor that doesn't overpower much, but it complements things so well. And I think oddly enough, it provides like this really smoky flavor that I haven't experienced anywhere else otherwise. So it's absolutely worth mentioning for that. And like I said, it's good all by itself, but if you like the texture of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I promise you, you'll like the texture of this. You just gotta get on board with the flavor. Okay, and lastly, we have to talk about another person in the Toast Crunch family, and that is Chocolate Toast Crunch. Chocolate Toast Crunch blew my mind because I was expecting just chocolate, and I got chocolate and cinnamon. They did something really, really well here, and it blew my mind thinking about how no one else has done this. Like cinnamon and chocolate go extremely well together. Just ask Abuelita. She's been doing it with her chocolate milk for ages, but it works so well in this cereal that I think it's my top selection for chocolate cereals in general, because that's not just chocolate, but the texture is amazing. You get really huge spoonfuls, just like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and it's just something I know you will really, really enjoy if you like chocolate. Okay, and that is it for my 6 recommendations for this video. If you like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I promise you, you will like, even love some of these. Maybe not all, but some for sure. And maybe none of them will actually be better than Cinnamon Toast Crunch to you, but it's not necessarily about finding something better. It's about finding something different. So you can have kind of the same thing in your life, but a little different. Because I find sometimes it's nice to just have something familiar, yet new, all at the same time. And that's what this whole series is going to be about. So today it's about Cinnamon Toast Crunch. In the future, I will do more, but my big promise to you is that as I do more of these videos, I'm not making these videos just to put out content for content's sake. I'm making these videos because I really, truly want to find the cereals that I think best translate from one to the other that I think maybe you don't know about. Okay? So what I'd like to ask from you is if you have any cereals you think you would like me to cover and recommend other cereals off of, please tell me in the comments below because that will help me in the future. I think things that are shoo-ins for sure are like Honey Nut Cheerios, Fruit Loops or Fruity Pebbles. We're going to talk more about Cocoa Pebbles for sure, I think, or at least a chocolate cereal and things like that. But if I'm missing something, please, like I said, let me know. And I'd love to hear about it, okay, guys? Again, thank you for watching, or maybe the first time for this episode. But thanks again for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon, and have a great rest of your day. See you later.